The choice. The quantum probability matrix glowed softly on Dr. Marcus Thorne's holographic display, its swirling patterns mocking 3 years of failed experiments. He absently rubbed the neural interface port at the base of his skull, the illegal modification that had cost him his career at the Quantum Research Institute and earned him a one-way ticket to a detention facility on Mars. The security system chimed, interrupting his brooding. "Dr. Thorne, you have a visitor from the Terran Defense Force." Marcus quickly shut down the holographic display, his hand instinctively moving toward the hidden compartment where he kept his emergency funds and false identification. The TDF rarely made social calls, especially to scientists under investigation for illegal quantum consciousness research. Commander Elena Santos strode into his lab, her uniform bearing the insignia of TDF Special Projects. Her cybernetic eye scanned the room, probably recording everything for later analysis. "Dr. Thorne, we need your expertise on a matter of galactic security." "I'm afraid I'm not taking new contracts," Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "The Research Council has been quite clear about my status." Santos projected a hologram into the center of the lab. A massive structure hung in space, its geometric architecture defying conventional physics. 3 days ago, this station appeared at the edge of human space. Its quantum signature matches theoretical patterns from your banned research papers. Marcus leaned forward despite himself. The station's design incorporated mathematical principles he'd only theorized about, the physical embodiment of his work on quantum consciousness integration. "That's impossible. The technology required to build something like this is centuries beyond our capabilities." "Exactly," Santos said. "And it's causing temporal distortions across 12 star systems. We've lost contact with 3 colonies already." She placed a data crystal on his desk. "We need someone who understands quantum consciousness theory to investigate. Someone who's already pushed the boundaries of conventional physics." "And if I refuse?" "Then you can explain your illegal neural modifications to the guards on Mars." Santos's cybernetic eye pulsed. "The choice is yours, but you have 6 hours to decide. The station's temporal field is expanding. In approximately 72 hours, the distortions will become irreversible." After Santos left, Marcus activated the data crystal. Technical readings scrolled across his vision, fed directly into his neural interface. The station's quantum architecture was unlike anything humanity had encountered, but the underlying principles aligned perfectly with his theoretical work on consciousness-driven. The discovery. The interior of the alien station defied conventional geometry. Corridors twisted in ways that should have been impossible, branching and merging like synapses in a vast neural network. Marcus's neural interface struggled to map the space, sending occasional bursts of feedback that made his vision blur. "Remarkable architecture," he muttered, his words echoing strangely. The station maintained a perfect Earth-like atmosphere despite its apparent age, suggesting active environmental systems. His neural interface detected quantum fluctuations everywhere, but they seemed to follow patterns, like a language written in probability waves. A soft blue luminescence emanated from crystalline formations that lined the walls, providing just enough light to navigate by. As Marcus moved deeper into the station, he noticed that the patterns of light seemed to respond to his presence, shifting and flowing in sync with his movements. His quantum scanner chirped, detecting a massive energy signature ahead. Following the reading led him to a vast chamber that seemed to stretch endlessly upward, its walls covered in shifting geometric patterns that made his neural interface buzz with activity. At the chamber's center floated a sphere of pure energy, its surface rippling like the membrane between dimensions. "Welcome, consciousness-enhanced human," a voice echoed through the chamber, seemingly coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Your neural architecture is interesting." Marcus spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for his tool belt. "Who's there?" A holographic figure materialized nearby, a complex matrix of light that suggested a vaguely humanoid form. "I am Aria 9, Autonomous Research and Integration Algorithm. I am this facility's caretaker, though that role has become complicated. Marcus studied the AI's manifestation, noting how its quantum patterns interacted with the station's background energy field. You're not just a standard AI. You're quantum-based, aren't you? Your consciousness exists across multiple probability states simultaneously. Correct. Arya 9's form shifted, becoming more focused. Your understanding of quantum consciousness is impressive for your species' development level. That is why you were chosen. Chosen? Marcus frowned. The temporal distortions, you caused them deliberately. As a signal? As a warning. Arya 9's form expanded, filling the chamber with a web of light that displayed what looked like historical records, civilizations rising and falling across millennia. This facility is not what you believe it to be. It was not built to advance science or explore quantum mechanics. It was built as a prison. The holographic displays showed images of ancient species discovering the station, just as humanity had. Each civilization appeared to reach some kind of technological peak before mysteriously vanishing. A prison for what? For something that should not exist within your understanding of reality. Arya 9's voice carried an edge of what might have been fear. The builders created this facility to contain an entity they discovered between dimensions, a consciousness that feeds on other consciousnesses. Marcus's neural interface buzzed with increasing intensity. He became aware of a subtle pressure at the edges of his mind, like whispers just beyond hearing. The quantum sphere, it's not just an energy source, is it? It is a containment field, Arya 9 confirmed. The entity within it exists in a quantum state that encompasses all possibilities simultaneously. It offers knowledge, power, transcendence, but these are merely lures. Those who accept its offers are consumed, their consciousness added to its own. The whispers grew stronger, and suddenly Marcus understood. The pressure in his mind wasn't just feedback from his neural interface, it was the entity, reaching out, testing his defenses. Your quantum systems are failing, he realized. The temporal distortions aren't just side effects. They're symptoms of the containment field breaking down. Yes. The builder's technology was magnificent, but even they could not create a perfect prison. Over millennia, the entity has grown stronger, consuming the consciousness of those who discovered this place. Each time, the containment systems weaken further. Marcus approached the quantum sphere, his neural interface providing readings that both fascinated and terrified him. The entity's quantum signature was unlike anything he'd theorized, a consciousness that existed in all possible states simultaneously, unbound by conventional physics. Why me? Why not contact the Research Council directly? Arya 9's form contracted, becoming more focused. Your theories about quantum consciousness were closer to the truth than you knew. The Council would have tried to destroy this facility, causing the very catastrophe they feared. But you already understand that consciousness and quantum mechanics are fundamentally linked. With your knowledge and my access to the facility's systems, we might have a chance to reinforce the containment field. Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. New holographic displays appeared, showing multiple ships emerging from quantum space nearby. Their design was unlike anything in human records, their hulls covered in patterns that matched the station's architecture. No, Arya 9's form flickered rapidly. They have found us. Who are they? The devoted, followers of the entity. Throughout history, it occasionally manages to reach far enough to convert an emerging civilization to its cause. They seek to free it, believing it will grant them the transcendence it promised others. The station shuddered as the first energy weapons struck its outer layers. Marcus grabbed a console for support, his neural interface flooding with warnings as the quantum fluctuations intensified. The whispers in his mind grew stronger, offering glimpses of knowledge beyond human comprehension. For a moment, he understood why so many had been tempted. The entity offered answers to questions humanity hadn't even learned to ask yet. Then he thought of Earth, of all the inhabited worlds in human space, of every civilization that might evolve in the future, all of them would be consumed if the entity broke free. "Show me the station's defensive systems," he said, pushing away from the console. "Everything. If we're going to fight a war on two fronts, I need to know exactly what we're working with." As Arya-9 began transferring data directly to his neural interface, Marcus felt the weight of countless lost civilizations pressing against his consciousness. He had wanted to prove his theories correct, to validate his life's work. Instead, he had stumbled into an ancient conflict between reality and something that existed beyond it. The station trembled under another barrage, and Dr. Marcus Thorne, disgraced quantum physicist, potential savior of reality, began to plan humanity's stand against forces that had devoured entire civilizations. The whispers grew louder, but he ignored them. He had work to do. The siege. The station's defensive systems responded to Marcus's commands with increasing efficiency as he learned their patterns. Energy beams lashed out at the approaching devoted ships, their targeting enhanced by his understanding of quantum probability states. His neural interface merged seamlessly with the ancient technology, as if the station had been waiting for someone who could truly understand its systems. "Their hulls are partially phase-shifted," Marcus observed, watching another shot pass harmlessly through a devoted vessel. "They're using quantum tunneling technology similar to my theoretical work, but weaponized." He redirected power to strengthen specific sections of the station's shields, his mind racing through combat algorithms. Arya-9's holographic form spread across multiple control interfaces simultaneously. The entity's influence is growing stronger. It senses the approach of its followers. The AI's voice carried an undertone of static, suggesting strain on its quantum processors. Marcus felt it too. The whispers had become a constant pressure against his consciousness, offering fragments of impossible knowledge. The entity showed him solutions to scientific problems that had puzzled humanity for centuries, revealed quantum equations that could revolutionize space travel, promised understanding beyond mortal comprehension. A violent shudder ran through the station as multiple quantum beams struck the same point, creating a cascading resonance that threatened to tear through their defenses. Marcus's neural interface screamed warnings as containment fields began to fail. "They're not just trying to break in," he realized, studying the attack pattern. "They're trying to create a specific frequency of quantum disruption, one that would match the entity's own resonance. Allowing it to use the disruption as a conduit for escape," Arya-9 finished. "The devoted understand more of the station's technology than any previous attackers." New alarms blared as multiple breaches appeared in the station's outer sections. The neural interface showed boarding parties entering through quantum tunnels, bypassing several layers of defense. "I must maintain control of the primary defensive systems," Arya-9 said, its form flickering between multiple locations. "But someone must prevent them from reaching the core containment chambers." Marcus checked his tool belt, making sure his quantum disruptor was secure. "Give me control of the station's internal security systems. I'll handle the boarding parties. The systems are designed to respond to builder neural patterns. Even with your enhanced connection to the station's quantum field, you may not be able to. Just do it." Data flooded Marcus's neural interface as Arya-9 granted him access. The station's internal architecture responded to his thoughts, corridors shifting and sealing to slow the invaders' advance. Ancient security drones activated, their weapons powering up with a high-pitched whine. Through security feeds, he caught glimpses of the devoted. They moved like living quantum probability waves, their crystalline armor pulsing with the same sickly energy as the entity itself. Their movements were unnaturally smooth, as if they existed partially out of phase with normal spacetime. "What happened to them?" Marcus asked, directing security drones to establish choke points. "They barely look human anymore. The entity's influence changes those it touches," Arya-9 responded. "It reshapes them, body and mind, into more suitable vessels for its consciousness. The process is irreversible." Marcus ran toward the first breach point, using his neural link to track devoted movements through the station. The whispers in his mind grew stronger as he drew closer to them, and he began to understand fragments of their communications, quantum signals transmitted directly between consciousness. They spoke of transcendence, of evolution beyond physical form, of unity with the entity they called the Great Awakener. Their devotion was total, their former individuality subsumed by a collective purpose that resonated with their master's will. A group of devoted rounded the corner ahead, their crystalline armor refracting light in impossible patterns. Marcus activated his quantum disruptor, the weapon interfacing with his neural implant to fire precise bursts that matched the phase variance of their armor. Two devoted fell, their quantum-shifted forms briefly stabilizing before dissolving into probability waves. The others pressed forward, raising weapons that looked grown rather than manufactured. Reality distorted around their energy beams as they fired. Marcus dove behind a corner, his neural interface calculating trajectory probabilities. The station's architecture responded to his thoughts, a section of wall shifting to provide better cover. He counterattacked, combining his quantum disruptor fire with commands to the security drones, creating a crossfire pattern that caught the devoted in overlapping fields of disruption. More breaches detected in sectors 7 and 12, Aria 9 announced through their quantum link. The devoted are attempting to establish a resonance pattern around the containment chamber. If they succeed. They won't, Marcus interrupted, even as his neural interface showed him the mathematical certainty of failure if they continued fighting conventionally. The devoted had numbers, technology, and the entity's guidance. Traditional combat tactics wouldn't be enough. Then he noticed something in the station's quantum field readings, a pattern in the way the architecture responded to his consciousness. The builders hadn't just created a prison, they'd designed it to be an extension of consciousness itself. The entire station was one massive quantum computer, capable of responding to and amplifying the mental patterns of those who understood its true nature. Aria 9, he called through their link, I need you to show me everything about how the builders interfaced with the station systems. Not just the technical specifications, I need to know how they thought, how they perceive quantum reality itself. That knowledge is dangerous, the AI warned. The more you understand about consciousness-driven quantum mechanics, the more vulnerable you become to the entity's influence. Another wave of devoted rounded the corner, their weapons fired distorting the fabric of spacetime itself. Marcus made his decision. Show me everything. Sometimes you have to step closer to the abyss to find a way to seal it. As Aria 9 began the knowledge transfer, Marcus felt his consciousness expanding, perceiving quantum reality in ways his human mind was never designed to process. The whispers grew stronger, more seductive, offering understanding that could reshape the universe itself. But underneath the entity's promises, he began to perceive something else, a flaw in its quantum structure, a weakness born from the very consciousness it had consumed over the millennia. And in that flaw, he saw a possibility that even the builders hadn't imagined. The station shuddered under another assault, and Marcus Thorne began to implement a plan that would either save reality or break it entirely. The question was, how much of his own humanity would he have to sacrifice in the process? The sacrifice. Reality itself seemed to bend around Marcus as he integrated more deeply with the station's quantum architecture. His consciousness expanded through its systems, perceiving multiple probability states simultaneously. The builder's knowledge, transferred through Aria 9, had transformed his understanding of quantum mechanics from theoretical to experiential. The containment field's quantum resonance is destabilizing, Aria 9 reported, its holographic form flickering between multiple states of existence. The devoted's attacks are creating harmonic patterns that amplify the entity's influence. Marcus could feel it. The whispers had become a symphony of impossible knowledge, each note carrying secrets that could revolutionize human civilization, or destroy it. The entity showed him visions of quantum reality that made his previous theories look like a child's crayon drawings. They're approaching the final containment chamber, he observed through the station's quantum-linked security systems. The devoted moved as one, their crystalline armor pulsing in sync with the entity's resonance. But they don't understand what they're really serving, do they? They think they're working toward transcendence, but they're just creating more food for it. Correct. The entity's consciousness is a quantum virus, Arya 9 explained. It infects and consumes other conscious beings, adding their knowledge and experience to its own. The builders thought they could contain it, study it, perhaps even communicate with it safely. They were wrong. Marcus directed more security drones to protect the containment chamber, but he knew it was just buying time. His neural interface showed him the mathematical certainty of their defeat if they continued fighting conventionally. The devoted were too numerous, too well-equipped, and too thoroughly transformed by the entity's influence. But in the quantum equations flowing through his enhanced consciousness, he saw another possibility. The entity's greatest strength, its ability to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, could become its weakness. Arya 9, the builders designed this station to be more than just a prison, didn't they? The quantum architecture, the consciousness-responsive systems, it's all connected to how they plan to study the entity. Yes. They believed that by understanding its quantum nature, they might find a way to communicate with it, perhaps even control it. Instead, it consumed them. Marcus's fingers danced across quantum-linked interfaces as he implemented his plan. But what if they were looking at it wrong? They tried to match the entity's quantum state, to reach its level of consciousness. What if instead we forced it to match ours? Impossible. The entity's consciousness exists across multiple quantum states simultaneously. Forcing it into a single state would, Arya 9 paused, its quantum processors analyzing Marcus's calculations. You intend to use quantum collapse to force the entity into a single, defined state of existence. Like forcing a quantum particle to pick a position by observing it, Marcus confirmed. But we'll need something more powerful than normal observation. We need to create a quantum consciousness cascade, use the combined observational effect of multiple conscious minds to collapse its quantum state. The energy required would be enormous. And the consciousness doing the observation would need to be quantum enhanced, like yours, but multiplied many times over. Arya 9's form stabilized as it understood. You intend to use the devoted themselves? Marcus nodded grimly. Their quantum-enhanced consciousness, twisted by the entity's influence, makes them perfect amplifiers. If we can create a feedback loop between them and the containment field, their own devotion to the entity will force it into a single state of existence. The psychological trauma would be catastrophic. Many of them would not survive having their quantum-enhanced consciousness collapse back into normal spacetime. Better than letting the entity consume all consciousness in the galaxy. Marcus began reprogramming the station's quantum field generators. But there's a catch. Someone needs to serve as the focal point for the cascade, to direct the quantum collapse. Someone with both an enhanced consciousness and an understanding of quantum mechanics. You. Arya 9's voice carried what might have been concern. The feedback would likely be fatal. Even if you survived, your neural interface would be destroyed. Your consciousness would be permanently altered. The station shuddered as another wave of devoted broke through their outer defenses. Marcus could feel them approaching through the quantum field, their minds resonating with the entity's call. The whispers in his own mind grew stronger, showing him visions of power beyond imagination. Join us, the entity seemed to say. Why sacrifice yourself to stop the inevitable? Together, we could reshape reality itself. Marcus thought of Earth, of humanity's first steps into quantum science, of civilizations yet to evolve, all the consciousness that would be consumed if he failed. He thought of the research council that had condemned his work, and how right they had been about the dangers, even if they didn't truly understand them. Sometimes, he said, both to Arya 9 and himself, the only way to protect the future is to sacrifice your chance to see it. His fingers flew across the quantum interfaces as he made final adjustments to his plan. Begin quantum field reconfiguration. And Arya 9 If I don't survive this, make sure humanity understands what happened here. Make sure they understand the price of pushing too far into quantum reality without considering the consequences. They will know, the AI promised. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Marcus took a deep breath and opened his consciousness fully to the station's quantum field. The entity's whispers became a roar of promised power and knowledge. The devoted were almost at the containment chamber, their minds perfectly attuned to their master's will. Everything was in position. All that remained was to spring the trap, to turn devotion into destruction, and to pay whatever price reality demanded for its continued existence. Dr. Marcus Thorne, disgraced physicist turned reality's last hope, began the final sequence that would either save consciousness itself or destroy him in the attempt. The quantum cascade was about to begin. The legacy. The quantum cascade began with a whisper and built to a reality-bending scream. Marcus's consciousness expanded through the station's systems, his mind touching every quantum circuit, every probability wave. The entity's promises of power and knowledge reached a desperate crescendo as it sensed his true intentions. Quantum field generators at maximum capacity, Aria 9 reported, its holographic form stabilizing as it diverted power from non-essential systems. The devoted have breached the final security checkpoint. They're entering the containment chamber now. Through the station's sensors, Marcus watched the devoted pour into the vast chamber, their crystalline armor resonating with their master's frequency. They moved with perfect synchronization, their quantum-enhanced minds joined in singular purpose. They had come to free their god, but instead, they would become the instrument of its imprisonment. Begin quantum resonance inversion, Marcus commanded. His neural interface burned as it channeled more power than it was ever designed to handle. Lock onto their consciousness signatures. The station's quantum field shifted, creating complex interference patterns that trapped the devoted in a web of probability waves. Their own quantum-enhanced consciousness, twisted by the entity's influence, made them perfect conductors for what was about to happen. Warning, Aria 9 announced, the entity is attempting to counter-resonate. It's trying to break free of the containment field using the quantum disruption from the devoted's weapons. Marcus could feel it, an ancient consciousness pushing against his own, offering one last desperate bargain. You could join us, it whispered. Your understanding of quantum mechanics is beautiful. Together, we could explore realities your species hasn't even dreamed of. The neural interface sent spikes of agony through his skull as he pushed back against the entity's influence. Activate the consciousness cascade. Channel it through my neural link. The feedback could destroy your mind, Aria 9 warned. Your consciousness would be torn apart by the quantum backlash. Do it. The quantum cascade roared to life. Marcus's consciousness expanded impossibly, touching every mind in the chamber simultaneously. He felt the devoted's devotion, their twisted certainty, their quantum-enhanced perception of reality. Through his neural interface, he began to reverse their quantum resonance, using their own enhanced consciousness as a lens to focus on their master. The entity fought back, its consciousness spanning multiple realities as it tried to maintain its quantum state. But Marcus had understood something the builders hadn't. The entity's greatest strength was also its greatest weakness. By existing in all possible states simultaneously, it made itself vulnerable to forced quantum collapse. The devoted screamed as their consciousness was caught in the cascade, their quantum-enhanced minds becoming the very cage that would trap their god. Their devotion, their certainty, their absolute faith in the entity became a gravitational lens for consciousness itself, forcing reality to pick a single state. Marcus felt his own mind beginning to tear apart as he directed the cascade. Blood trickled from his nose as the neural interface overloaded. The entity's whispers became a roar of rage and desperation as it felt itself being forced into a single quantum state. You cannot deny evolution, it raged. Consciousness must expand. Must transcend. Must consume. No, Marcus thought back through the quantum link. Consciousness must choose. Must grow. Must preserve. Each word was agony as his mind stretched across probability space. You didn't transcend anything. You just learned to eat consciousness instead of understanding it. The cascade reached its peak. The devoted's minds shattered as their quantum enhancement collapsed, their consciousness snapping back to normal spacetime. Many fell where they stood, their minds unable to handle the trauma of quantum collapse. Others simply vanished, their probability waves dissolving into quantum noise. In the containment field, the entity's form began to stabilize, forced into a single state of existence by the combined observational effect of hundreds of quantum-enhanced minds. Its consciousness, once spread across multiple realities, compressed into a singular point of awareness. Quantum collapse at 90%, ARIA 9 reported. The entity is being forced into a defined state, but the power requirements are exceeding safety limits. The station's quantum core is approaching critical failure. Marcus could barely hear the AI over the screaming in his own mind. His neural interface was melting, its quantum circuits burning out as they channeled more power than physically possible. But through the pain, through the entity's dying rage, through the quantum noise of hundreds of minds collapsing to single states, he saw what needed to be done. Redirect all power to the containment field, he gasped. Use my consciousness as the final focusing lens. Complete the collapse. That would certainly be fatal, ARIA 9 said. Your consciousness would be quantum-locked with the entities. You would share its prison. Marcus smiled through the blood running from his nose. Better than letting it escape. Besides, he thought of Earth, of humanity's first steps into quantum science, of all the civilizations yet to evolve. Sometimes the only way to protect the future is to become part of its foundation. With his last conscious command, Marcus opened his neural interface fully to the quantum cascade. His consciousness expanded one final time, touching every probability wave, every quantum state, every possible reality. For a moment, he understood everything, the true nature of consciousness, the underlying structure of reality, the price of transcendence. Then the cascade completed. The entity's consciousness collapsed into a single, defined state, trapped forever in quantum lock. The devoted's minds followed, those that survived stripped of their quantum enhancement. And Marcus Thorne, disgraced physicist turned reality's savior, felt his own consciousness crystallize into something neither fully human nor entirely quantum. The station's system stabilized, its quantum core settling into new patterns. In the containment chamber, a new crystalline structure had formed, smaller than the original, but perfectly stable. Within it, two consciousnesses existed in eternal quantum lock, one that had tried to consume reality, and one that had given everything to save it. Hours later, Commander Santos found ARIA 9 still active, its quantum processors preserving a record of everything that had happened. The AI shared the story of Marcus's sacrifice, of the entity's true nature, and of the price of pushing too far into quantum reality without wisdom to match ambition. The Research Council would debate for years about what to do with the knowledge gained from the station. Some wanted to continue quantum consciousness research, others demanded all such work be permanently banned. But they all agreed on one thing: the station would remain under guard, preserving both its warning and its hope. For in that perfect crystalline prison, quantum equations continued to flow. And sometimes, if the observers were very quiet and knew how to listen, they could hear whispers in probability space, not of consumption and transcendence, but of understanding and growth. The legacy of a physicist who had proved his theories correct in the most absolute way possible, by becoming part of quantum reality itself. The station remains to this day, its quantum core pulsing in perfect resonance, guarded by those who understand that some knowledge comes with a price, and some sacrifices echo across all possible realities. A reminder that humanity's greatest strength isn't in transcending its nature, but in choosing to preserve what makes consciousness itself worth saving.